dreaming in the open. Now look around, isn't this a new day? Make a move, doing things a new way. A new way. 'Cause this is our world, and this is our time. These are our plans, we're gonna let them shine. This is our place in the human race, and we won't stop dreaming. No, we won't stop dreaming. Look ahead, we can see forever. You and me doing it together. Light it up, we can be a million stars. Look at us, don't you see we've come so far? Yeah, we've come so far. 'Cause this is our world, and this is our time, and these are our plans, we're gonna let them shine. This is our place in the human race, and we won't stop dreaming. No, we won't stop dreaming.
Hey, this is Craig. Welcome to Every Woman. Hi, Maria. How are you?
Hello, how are you?
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Good. Well, we're always happy. We're always happy to have our guests, because without you, we wouldn't have a show. So we're going to jump right into it. When were you born?
I was born in the 80s, so I was an 80s and 90s child growing up.
Okay. And where were you born?
I was born in Georgetown, Ontario, Canada. I was living in Brampton, Ontario, but the delivery was actually in Georgetown, Ontario, which just was a town over from Brampton.
Well, that was my next question is, did you grow up there? So tell me about Brampton. What was that like?
We lived in Brampton. I don't remember too much. We were I was about, I think, right before my 5th birthday, we moved north about an hour and a half from Brampton to a little town called Dundalk, Ontario. So it's very unheard of. A lot of people don't have a clue where it is, but it's out there and it's small.
Okay, lots of people from small towns. And where did you go to school?
Everybody kind of knew everyone there.
Yeah.
It was another town over. Well, public school was in Dundalk, but we actually had to bus to another town over as we didn't actually have a high school in Dundalk. So we went to Flusherton, Ontario to go to my high school where I went.
Okay. Were you a good student? Did you enjoy school?
It was called Grey Highlands where I went. I like to think I did really good during public school, but as I became closer to being a teenager, I became a little bit rebellious. I didn't graduate high school. I messed around. Right in grade 9, I was messing around. And even grade 8, I had problems and I had to go to summer school before I was able to attend secondary school. So it wasn't the greatest student. I had a lot of issues.
And how old were you when you started dating?
Actually, my first boyfriend, I was actually 14 years old, but he was a lot older than me.
And did you choose a career or were you a homemaker?
At the time, I really just wasn't making a lot of smart choices, and I kind of went from job to job, just basic, like pizza shop. Actually, when I got a bit older, I started working in some bars, and I became like a shooter girl in some bars. So I kind of bounced around with jobs.
Did you have children?
I did. I was a young mom, so when I was 19, I got pregnant and became a mom actually when I was 20. But yeah, I would consider myself. I was pretty young and not really know what I was getting myself into at that age.
Sure. Did you have a family or were you a single mom?
For the most part, for my oldest one, I have 3 children. The oldest one, for the most part, I was a single mom. And then when my oldest became around 4 or 5, I did get in a relationship with another man, and we were together for 10 years, which we had my other 2 children with him. wasn't a good relationship.
Do you have a large extended family?
Not really anymore. I felt like my mom held the glue to our family a lot, and since she's been gone, even my siblings and everything, we've really lost connection, and we all kind of live in different areas and stuff too. But yeah, there's not a ton of communication there anymore.
Yeah. Do you have regrets?
Oh, for sure.
What's your greatest regret?
Not doing better when I was younger and finishing school and finding a career and just even giving my children a better life than I was able to.
What's your greatest joy?
Definitely my kids. For sure, my kids. Yeah, 100%.
Good. That's fantastic. And do you have hobbies? Do you craft? Do you play sports, like movies?
A lot of hobbies that I have. I actually really enjoy fishing. I love the outdoors. I love going to the beach. I love the water. I like to camp a lot too. I love going up north. Like in Ontario, there's some beautiful spots up north to go camping and stuff. So I love that, and usually pull out the rod and do some fishing out there. So yeah, that's what I really enjoy.
What kind of fishing do you like to do? Do you like fly fishing, or you just throw a bobber out and catch bluegill, or are you a bass angler?
Twice I've actually been in a bass derby, so I've done a lot of bass fishing. I've did some pike fishing, some Canadian pike. I've done some perch fishing, so just random, really, just whatever.
Awesome. Pike are a huge fish.
Whatever I'm feeling that time or the season, depending on season.
Pike can get real big and aggressive.
Oh, yes. Yeah. The one tournament, it was the bass tournament. You're allowed to get one pike. Like, it's actually a bass tournament, so you get, like, I think it's the first 13 places, you get prizes, but also with the biggest pike or biggest perch, you can get also a reward and a little trophy. On the first day of the derby, because it's 2 days long, on the first day, I had the biggest pike, so I was up on the leaderboard and everything. But the second day, someone beat my pike. So I almost made it, but I didn't make it. My friend actually got second place. Yeah, it's fun.
Well, that's kind of exciting, though, right?
It was a big one.
Yeah, cool. And I'm assuming you didn't do military service, because it sounds like you've had a full life already.
No, I didn't. No.
Have you been sexually assaulted?
I have, yes.
Domestic violence?
I was. Yes.
I'm so sorry.
There's been both.
What has been the greatest struggle for you?
A big struggle for me was my mental health, actually. At a very young age, as a teenager, I was diagnosed with like manic depression. And then as I got a bit older, there was anxiety disorders. Then they said I had ADHD, and so I was very impulsive. And they eventually did diagnose me with PTSD and borderline as well when I became actually closer to my 30s. So, yeah, there's been struggles with that. I also have physical difficulties as well. I have rheumatoid arthritis and osteoarthritis in my spine. So, I currently have, I also have degenerative disc disease. So I have actually a pretty severe pinched nerve in my back, and I go weekly for nerve blocking injections. So I do have a lot of difficulties and struggles.
That's rough.
Yeah.
My mom was doing those like in her knees and stuff. And she's had like 5 back surgeries.
Yeah, I've done that.
She lives on pain pills, and she called me the other day, and she's like, she is out, and her doctor was having issues, couldn't get her a refill, and I'm just like, she's basically crippled without them. She hates taking them. She only takes like half a pill at a time, because she doesn't like living on them. But I mean, what choice does she have? I can't imagine living in pain.
Right, and then you start actually depending on them when you need it.
Yes, that is the struggle, right? Like, they're not there when you need them.
Right, exactly.
What would you say is your most rewarding or fulfilling success?
Definitely my kids, but I also have very rewarding feelings through, I do a lot of rescue work with animals, so that gives me a huge rewarding feeling. I've dealt with injured animals, sick animals. I've nursed, little babies or even grown adults or anything back to health. Been doing that professionally with a rescue for 9 years, but my whole life I kind of was into rescuing animals, and I'd bring them home, and my mom would give me trouble because I'd bring all the barn cats home in Dundalk. And so, yeah.
What would you say is your most successful or most memorable rescue? There's got to be one that stands out, right?
It's likely the one that I foster failed with, and I ended up keeping her. I have a kitty. She's now, she's turning 6 years old. When I got her as a baby, she was small, but she was very sick, and she came from outdoors, her and the whole litter, and she was the runt. But she had a severe eye infection, and it was just out like that, and she wouldn't eat, and she was so sick, and so I had to give her antibiotics and eye drops, and I had to syringe feed her. I had to care for her. When she was 1 year old, she actually had to go for surgery to have her eye removed because it never fully healed properly, and there was just so much pressure behind it that it was starting to bulge out. Her and I went through a lot. She hated me giving her medication and treating her, but in the end, like, we're really, really close. She knows that I was saving her, and in the end, I couldn't get rid of her, and that was my foster fail. But I love her to death.
Yeah, but is it a fail?
It's not a fail, but
It doesn't feel like a fail.
it was a foster fail.
I understand the concept of failing the foster, but because you don't relate, you didn't release it and get it back into. Yeah, I get it, but
Right.
it doesn't feel like a fail, does it?
No, not for me.
Right, right. Well, I appreciate all that. Would you like to tell us your story now, Maria?
Yeah. So, like I said, when we moved to Dundalk when I was around almost 5 years old, I believe, because I do remember having my 5th birthday party there. So I know it's before I was 5. We moved up to Dundalk, and I wasn't aware at the time, but now that I'm older and more aware, I realized that my father actually moved us out there to kind of isolate my mom away from her friends and family that were from the city. That was where all her family, her friends, everyone she knew, grew up with, was from there. So going to a brand new town, it was very unfamiliar for all of us. I mean, I was a kid, so I adjusted. So, but that's when I first started, maybe remembering or having the knowledge of what was going on. But I remember being really young years old, probably 5, and my mom warning me, that my dad was on his way home, and she said, if anything gets really bad, I want you to run over to the neighbor's house, and you just go stay at the neighbor's house. So he did come home, and there was some escalation, and they were fighting. I didn't understand what the fight was over. I do know now he was hanging out with another woman, which he eventually left and had another child with. But so they were arguing, and I remember my father throwing a trophy at my mom's face, and I remember her face, just the blood started dripping down from around her eyebrow, just missed her eye. So right then and there, I left the house, and I ran over to my neighbor's house, and I got there and I told them what happened, and they're like, well, do you want to call the cops? And I mean, he's like, yeah, can you guys call the cops for me, thinking that they were going to do it for me, but they actually handed me the phone. And I remember being so scared because, like I said, I was a 5-year-old little girl. And so I ended up calling. I called the cops, and they came, and everyone in my family was telling me I was a hero. The cops told me I was a hero. I was such a good girl. And then my dad told me I was a bad girl, and that was bad, and never to do that again. And I was just really bad girl for it. So that was so confusing to me, because I had them telling me what a good girl you are, you saved your mom, and my dad's like, no, you're a bad kid for this, like, don't ever do that stuff. So, and because it's your parents, that's so conflicting. You want to love both of your parents. So, still very young, this is kind of the first memory I really had of the abuse too. Apparently I saw a lot more, but a doctor did explain that there is trauma responses where you block it out and kind of lose the memory to it. So I was exposed to it, but I don't remember all of it. So then they split up, and like I said, he ended up getting with another woman.
Yeah, your mind kind of blocks that out as a defense mechanism.
Right. So after he had left, he got in that relationship, and it's so weird how this happened, but one night this man just showed up at our door, and he had said that he had ditched his car down the road and he really needed to use our phone. My mom allowed him to use the phone, and she ended up with this man, and he just never really left. He was there for good. I know it's really strange how it started, but that's how it started. And turns out he was kind of a drunk, so he was probably drunk and ditched the car that night and whatever. And my mom was alone, and she had just gone through all that trauma herself. So she was very vulnerable and, probably naive at the time too. And she was a single mom and maybe feeling a little desperate. I don't know. But so she ended up dating this guy. They were together for a long time. And I guess when I was around, I want to say, I think it was before I was even 10 years old. And I had another sibling that was a bit older than me as well. And I want to say, yeah, they were like a teenager where I was not a teenager yet. And I remember my mom would leave because she was a bus driver, and she'd leave in the morning, and this said individual would start like playing with himself in front of us. We were pretty young, and then I know there was more things that happened to my other older sibling that maybe happened to me, but there was also another time my mom was in a pool league, and um, he was gone, or she was gone for the night, and I woke up to him actually in the bed with me, and he was completely naked, and in a very inappropriate way next to me. And I jumped up and I said, "When's mom coming home?" And he actually ran out of the room butt naked. Um, and that terrified me. I ended up telling my real father, and I said, this man's doing strange things. This is happening. And my father called the cops. Cops got involved. I don't really remember because I was still really young again. I don't know everything that happened, but I remember he was gone for a while. He got charged. And then he tried to blame my sister, saying, she was wearing short shorts and sitting on my lap. And then you'd blame alcohol, saying it was because he had an alcohol abuse problem and stuff like that. But so he was gone a long time. And then all of a sudden he started coming back around, but there was a rule that he wasn't allowed to drink around us no more or whatever. So he was coming around sober, apparently, whatever. And as time went on, he ended up moving back in with us, and he was there again. But my mom went and got us locks for our door, which, that wasn't much protection. I was still terrified because I remember in the nights I'd wake up to him still rattling my door and my mom redirecting him to the other room. There's even nights he was so drunk. I remember Christmas night once he peed on the Christmas tree all over our presents, everything, ruined Christmas for us. Like, it was a lot growing up. Just being so drunk and out of it that he didn't even know what he was doing. Um, so it was pretty, I don't know. I just never was comfortable in the house. So when I was 14 years old, like I said, I had got with a really older man. He was actually 20 years old and I was 14. So that was very much child abuse again, I feel, and sexual abuse. But for me,
Sure.
again, I think I was desperate and I had an older man showing me attention and I kind of seeked that attention. Maybe I wanted it more from my own father that wasn't there much. And, he went and had a child with somebody else and raised that child and family for many years. And I felt like I was put on the back burner. So I seeked that older man attention. And so I guess it made me feel kind of cool and everything. And I loved it. And so I remember going into grade 9 and I was dating this guy. And like I said, he had just turned 20. Um, he started getting me to experiment. And I started out with smoking pot. And then some other harder drugs were getting experimented. And this is all when I'm like 15, 16 years old. So, I'm really falling down a bad path. Um, I'm not really keeping a job. I'm not doing the greatest. I'm going, dropping out of school, trying to go back, dropping out again, not making that a priority. And I was really falling behind. And then I was with him for 3 years and I got out of that finally. And I was 17 actually when we broke up. So still a child. I wasn't even an adult yet still. And I had, by the time I turned 18 years old, 18 years old, I moved out of my mom's house and I moved to the city and I lived with some friends. I got in kind of bad crowds. I told you how I started working in some bars and stuff like that. And I was doing, a lot of dumb things and just making really terrible choices. And I even had gotten into some legal problems, and it just wasn't good. Um, I guess not long after, when I turned 19, I did end up meeting a boyfriend and leaving that scene. And I wanted to do better because I got pregnant at 19 and I wanted to be a really good mom. Um, So I left, and I left the city for a while and got away from everything. And I moved back to Dundalk while I was pregnant. And I actually gave birth to my first kid up north there. And I lived there for a little bit till my child was 1 year old. And then I decided I want to move back to the city because that's where my boyfriend was from and his family and everything. And I felt my child be more safe and supported there because I missed to the point when I moved home too while I was pregnant with that child. I got in a big fight with my stepdad. He said something inappropriate to my mom, and I got really angry. Like I could have been really hormonal pregnant, but I flipped the table and he spit his sausage in my face, and I got so angry. I grabbed the toaster. I tried to throw it at his head, and he looked at me and he's like, "You need to get out." And he looked at my mom and said, "Tell her to get out." And my mom actually looked at him, and this is the first time I felt like she chose me over him. And she said, "No, I'm not going to tell my pregnant daughter to leave. You can go." And he did. He left. I remember he hitchhiked into town because we didn't live in town. We were outside of town. And he went and stayed. He stayed in this little crappy motel for a little bit. And eventually he came back and things calmed down as usual. He always comes back. But yeah, so I ended up moving out, went back to the city, and I started a life of my own, and I had my kids. But it wasn't, all smooth right away either, because when I had my second child, he was about 6 to 7 months old. 6 months, my mom had her first major stroke. She was in the hospital for well over a month, but she was on the mend, doing well. She had her blood thinners to come home with. First they were injections, then it got switched over to pill form, and she was really doing much better. So we thought she was doing good. And then it was just after New Year's, and my family, all of us got together to have a dinner at my mom's house, and we all got together, but my mom was acting really strange. She was talking about like how she had seen her mother, which her mother had passed away 16 years before that. Like it's almost like her life was flashing before her eyes. She was having delusions and things. So we did call the ambulance, and they had checked her out, and they said that, she was okay, just if things got really bad, to send her back. And that night she came home, and I had asked everybody in the house, because as usual, my stepdad was drunk and he was in the basement smoking. He was smoking pot and stuff in the basement. And I just came down and I said, "Did anybody make sure mom took her medication?" And he looked at me and goes, "Well, I haven't." And I was like, "So she hasn't had her medication at all? You're the one that's supposed to be caring for her, especially if she's got some delusions and not really aware of what's going on. She's not going to remember to take her medication, or even remember if she's on medication." So that was really shocker, and we got the meds in her and everything, but I don't think he was giving them to her regularly before that. And that same night we had all got together, she had a major stroke, and she never ever woke up from it. Well, I can't say that. She got to the hospital and she was squeezing our hands and stuff for her first couple of days, and then after that was it. That was the dementia that kind of popped up, and like one day it just happened so sudden and so fast, and it was just so unexpected. It shouldn't have happened that way. And so I hold so much anger to my stepdad, and I want to feel like blaming him for it. But at the same time, as a child and most of my life, I did so much therapy to overcome the hate I had for him for the things he did. Even when I was a child, I did child sexual abuse. It was group therapy with other children that went through stuff like mine. Although I was never actually raped, and some of the other children did. I wasn't sure if I was in the right spot or getting the proper help. But I know now, as I'm older, I for sure still needed it. So I definitely, I fit in with the other girls. I just didn't feel like I did when I was younger. then after my mother's passing, there were supposed to be diamond rings from our father that he had gave. There was a diamond ring and a wedding band. One was for me and one was for my other sibling. He went through her briefcase and her jewelry box, and everything was gone. Never found anything. Never found her will. Nothing was ever found. He ended up losing the house, which he lied to us and said he was paying the mortgage. When I said I would move in, help pay the mortgage off, he said, no, he had everything under control. Funny thing is, my biological father still had his name under it from when he first bought the house with my mom, and the bank started calling him saying, hey, listen, this is owed on the house. He was still cashing my mom's government checks. He didn't tell the government she had passed away. So anyway, long story short, the bank ended up...
Were they married?
No, my dad was still legally married to my mom. They never got a divorce. He never was married to my mom. He was just a drunk, basically.
And the government never came after him?
There was an investigation, but honestly, that was the end of my communication with him, and that's been that. I heard his alcoholic, he became really sick one time. So because he was in the hospital and they didn't give him proper treatment in the hospital for alcohol withdrawal or whatever was needed properly to care for him, he kind of lost his mind and he doesn't really remember who people are or anything. And he reached out to one of my friends and had said, hey, tell Maria I hope she's doing well, which was really a trigger for me. And I was upset that he said that, because does he not remember everything that happened? And well, clearly he doesn't. So that's the thing. But I was like, I told my friend, I don't care and I don't want to know. Sorry,
I have a similar situation with my mom. Okay, my mom is having mini strokes, and she doesn't remember some of the things that have happened over the last 20 years. And she keeps asking me questions about some of the stuff that, parents aren't always great. And I don't want to get too into it, but she doesn't understand why certain people don't want to talk to her.
Oh no.
And it's like, Mom, I've gone over this with you. And I'm walking a fine line between, does she just not remember, or does she just not get it? I don't know, and it hurts me because she seems like she's in control, but I don't think she is. And you know what? She seems like, other than some physical issues, she seems like she's doing really well. But I wonder sometimes. I'm sorry. Please go on.
Yeah, it's scary. It's definitely a scary thing for sure. I feel you there. No, it's I can relate to that definitely. So it is a scary thing, and I'm sorry to hear that. And as much as I don't understand the choices my mom made, I don't hate her. We were actually really close once I moved out. I don't agree with some of her choices, but at the same time, I think she was desperate, and she felt she didn't have any other choice financially and everything, and she felt maybe she needed this man. So
I can understand that. I mean, as a parent myself, I didn't do all the right thing all the time. I was not the smartest, I'll admit it. But I never didn't try.
Yeah, I made a million mistakes as a parent too. I even had, like I said, I've struggled with my mental health. I've attempted suicide, and it was actually my child who found me. At the time, I was feeling so worthless, and I didn't think things would ever get better. And I really believed that my kids would be better off without me at the time, and that they could have a better life if I wasn't their caregiver at the time, because I struggled so bad with my thoughts and my mental health. But I did that. I attempted suicide, and if my kid didn't find me, I probably wouldn't be alive. I was in the hospital. I was revived.
We're glad you're here.
It's a big regret I have too, because my kids had to see that, and that was traumatizing for them. But I've got us all into therapy, and all of us are getting help, and there's been a lot of progress, and I know that there's a lot of things my kids hold against me and don't fully understand as well, and it's hard to explain to them. Although my oldest is an adult now, so they did see a lot more, and like I said, I was in an abusive relationship for a long time too, and
Tell us how they're doing now.
my kids, a lot better. Like, my oldest is doing so good, graduated from school, did some college courses, just got their first car, so amazing. And honestly, being the oldest and seeing everything that they seen, and they were the ones that called the ambulance that day, they could have went down a really bad path, like something I experienced myself. But I'm really praying that the cycle's been broken now, and they've all of them are in therapy. I'm still in therapy. I've been doing years of trauma therapy work. So yeah, it's been really good. So, and the ones that my two other kids that had the separate father that I was with for 10 years, he was also an alcoholic and an addict, and there was many charges and on and off problems with him. We've been split up now 6 years. But I'm still having legal issues with him, and he owes us about $40,000 in child support. When we were together, there's some assault charges he had got, that I had to push on him. But again, I took that man back a million times, like my mother did.
You think you'll ever see any of that 40,000?
No. It's the only time I might see anything is when he does his taxes and they take his GST checks or something, then they automatically send it to me that way. Family responsibility takes it, so yeah. That's the only time I ever see anything, maybe once a year or whatever.
I hope you get it all.
It would
Sounds
be
like you
nice, but
deserve it.
I mean, at the same time, we don't need him to. I've done an amazing job on them this far, and my oldest is an adult, and I've done for the last 6 years everything on my own, and everyone's healthy, and I can't say we're all fully in the happy spot that we want to be, but there's been struggles, but we're all really working on it together and trying to process it all as a family together as well. So things aren't perfect, but they did see the abuse from their father. They did see him getting charged. They saw way more than children should have to see, and I blame myself a lot because I did stay in that relationship and I continued to go back, and I felt I couldn't be a single mom to 3 kids, so for years I stayed with it and allowed it, and in the end he had kind of done what my father did too, cheating and left for another woman and went and had a kid with another woman. But the thing is, about a year ago, we caught him breaking into my house again when his other baby mom broke up with him. He was breaking into my house. There's been legal issues. He threatened to. He said that if I didn't stop one day when he was intoxicated, clearly, because he wouldn't talk to me like that any other time. But he told me, and it actually scared me. He said I was going to end up like my mother. That's a death threat.
Sounds like he has some mental issues of his own.
So I thought, oh, for sure, yeah. But yeah, so I called the cops, and we still have ongoing charges. He got charged for that, but he was released the same night. Immediately after his release, he breached it by texting me and saying, "Charges dropped, bitch, what's next?" So I called the cops again because I felt like he's been released and I felt threatened again. So he got arrested same day while he was on the run for a few days. They caught up to him though. There was a warrant out for his arrest, but so we have trial coming up actually next month, which I haven't had to face him in a long time, so I am really nervous.
I hope it works out for you.
Thank you. I have started dating again after being single for nearly 6 years. I am seeing a guy now. And for the first time ever, I'm seeing a guy. He doesn't drink alcohol. He doesn't do drugs. He actually has custody of his 3 children and raised his kids as well. So for the first time, I've always had men walk out of their kids' lives and not be there and not support their children. And now I see a man that is a caring father and takes care of his, responsibilities and has his own place, has, everything. And in 2 weeks, we're coming up on our year anniversary. So it's been really amazing.
Congratulations. That's fantastic. It sounds like you've come a long way.
I believe I'm on the process of breaking those cycles myself as well.
Good. It starts with you. I wish you the best.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I like to believe I really have, and I think all the supports and the resources that I use to get help for me and my children, it's really helped me become stronger and calmer, because I used to react to everything. I've learned to not react to everything and try and remain calm in certain situations now. So that's a big step actually for me. So yeah.
Congratulations. I'm so happy for you. I think things are going to work out for you. I don't think you're going to let them not.
No, not at this point. Things are only going up from here.
I'm really happy for you. Thank you for sharing your story with us, Maria.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. If you ever want to come back, let me know.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll be in touch.
We'll check in on you every once in a while. How about that?
Sounds good.
All right. Thank you so much. You have a great rest of your night.
Well, here we are, living in the moment. Here we are, dreaming in the open. Now look around, isn't this a new day? Make a move, doing things a new way. A new way. 'Cause this is our world, and this is our time. These are our plans, we're gonna let them shine. This is our place in the human race, and we won't stop dreaming. No, we won't stop dreaming. Look ahead, we can see forever. You and me doing it together. Light it up, we can be a million stars. Look at us, don't you see we've come so far? Yeah, we've come so far. 'Cause this is our world, and this is our time, and these are our plans. We're gonna let them shine. This is our place in the human race, and we won't stop dreaming. No, we won't stop dreaming. Standing at the crossroads, feeling how the wind blows. We can soar above the clouds. Every moment is a heartbeat, and every breath feeling so sweet. And who can say what happens now? 'Cause this is our world, this is our time. These are our plans, we're gonna let them shine. This is our place in the human race, and we won't stop dreaming.